side. So I have a few subscriber videos, very exciting, quite fun, suspenseful to watch. So first we have RodKing in the VK, the KV3. So great heavy tank, however, not using the 122 millimeter cannon, which I actually think is interesting. So not sure if he has it fully upgraded or maybe he's in the middle of grinding it. But here right off the bat, KV3, a little bit of a slower tank, well armored, very capable, heavy, really going over here to the sides, hopefully maybe to get some confrontal action. Team starting to spot a lot of the other enemies on the other side of the map. And you can tell, like, what I like about this is, I mean, he zooms in to see, tries to get the shot, but you can tell the KV3 isn't really meant for long distance shooting. It doesn't have that tank destroyer capability. So I really like in terms of what he's doing here and moving himself up, getting himself more into the action. And the KV3, being a heavy tank and fulfilling your role, you want to be more up on the front lines. So that's what you want to do. He's using the landscape to protect himself. He's being aware. He's looking around the map, which is really good. You have to do that. He's not quite just tunnel visioning on one part. Now, the one thing that is good about this cannon over the 122 millimeter over the KV3, I believe, is it is a little bit more accurate, and you do see that in this. It doesn't have as big of a average damage output, but that slight amount of accuracy does help him, but it also doesn't have as good of penetration. As you can see, he does kind of bounce some. Now, he is able to bounce some rounds. The KV3 does have a very capable armor profile, which I like. So he's paying attention. He's looking around to see how he can support his teammates. Some of the... the Italian bis there, that's not honestly the best place for him to be positioned. But the team here really kind of getting themselves just blown up here. Lucky he didn't get penned. I believe that was a KV2 HE or Hesh round that just hit his side. So he's trying to use this landscape, trying to use the protection, and this guy right next to him had kind of put himself in a position to rely on his armor, which he doesn't have a lot. But I like what he does here. He's really trying to protect his teammate. Unfortunately, doesn't work out. Starts to get a little circled of death here. Really aggressive for that medium, being there's two heavies here. So really, I mean, kind of a little bit of a tricky spot. His team's starting to fall apart, and he's kind of got enemies all around him, and unfortunately gets hit there with that KV3, but he is moving up on him, which is good because he does have that faster reload than the other KV3 with that 122 millimeter. So good call there. Now he has to be a little careful because there is a guy behind him. I believe that there's a tank destroyer as well, and there's this Black Prince down here, and the Black Prince has an excellent DPM. It's a matter of fact, it's probably got the best DPM of any heavy tank. So he's being careful. He's using a little bit of protection there. This, I'll be honest with you, this is a bit aggressive in terms of coming up on a Black Prince. He gets very lucky with that bounce, very lucky with this bounce. I'll be honest with you, if this Black Prince would have been able to penetrate him in this KV3, he would have been gone. I think that was a little bit too aggressive of a move, in my opinion. I would not have done that. You don't want to get yourself in a DPM exchange with a Black Prince. So definitely got lucky there. That was actually a bit intense to watch. So now he's got this Nash horn he's got to deal with. There's just 2 and 2 left here. And this is great because he can utilize the really low part of the valley here to get those upper shots on him. And was able to bounce that right off the turret, which was perfect. And this was really good. Even though the KV-3 doesn't have the best maneuverability, I like how he's trying to use it and outspeed or outmaneuver this Nashorn here, and just in the nick of time. It's amazing how many bounces this guy is able to get off. So wonderful, great game, RodKing. Good job. This was an excellent replay. There was a couple things I had mentioned I wouldn't probably have done, but it worked in your favor. Great mastery. So going into the next one, this is the T62A, so potassium. Another quite intense, really only can do so much in terms of your team. But right off the bat here in a T62A, what I'm looking for is to get yourself in a position right off the bat. You want to fulfill that role as a medium tank to try to spot, try to give yourself eyes to make decision. And then when you spot, it's also going to help your team make decisions as well in terms of where to go, help the slower tanks know how to position themselves. Just being a good spotter is a really effective way to just help your team in general. So I like that what he's doing here, because he is putting himself in a safe position to spot. He is got some support from his teammates, which is good, because if it was just him up here, it could have put him in a bad position, but he does have some support. And I love how he kind of finagles his way through and utilizes a lot of the terrain and landscape to try to protect himself. Now, little open there, but he really does work this actually quite well. The T62A, as you can see, I personally love the tank. It has great accuracy. It had that buff with that extra degree of gun depression, good turret armor, just overall, honestly, probably one of my favorite medium tanks at tier 10. And he's really trying to get in the action by still utilizing the landscape to protect himself. I love that he's not completely tunnel visioning. He's paying attention to where the enemies are, paying attention to where those opportunistic shots are that he can pop out and take. Is just excellent. Great bounce there, and pulls out, tries to use this ridge line, this hill, to spot without just going right over, which I thought was very smart. Team's down by 1, trying to move up here, trying to get himself more into that frontline position. As a T62A, you do have great turret armor, and that is probably one of the risky tanks to pop out in front of, because that Yagru does have excellent penetration. But he's really trying to use the landscape, these ridge lines, his accuracy, try to get these snapshots off, get behind the cover, and now he's paying attention to who's behind him in this enemy that's just coming up, this IS-8. So he's not tunnel visioning, which is really good. He knows where the weak points are of armor. He understands the armor profile of the tanks he's coming across, which is very helpful in knowing, because just with how accurate the T62A is, you can really hone in on those weak spots and actually can work quite well. So unfortunately, even with the amazing game that he's having so far, they're still behind here, still a lot of hit points on the table. This standard B auto reloading system get him in a little bit of trouble, but T62A overall still has much better DPM. It was good for him to brawl because he could have used that. He was using that turret armor, which is really good. And when you're up against, that wasn't so much of a tall tank, but taller tanks, and you get along their side or in front, it can be hard to hit this thing. So this is beautiful here. Love how he's using the ridge line, being in kind of that front line. I wouldn't say that, like, kind of a heavium position, because like I said, the T62 has a great turret, so he's utilizing that. Now he's utilizing his maneuverability. So there's a lot of things in here that he's maximizing the T62's strengths and protecting his weaknesses, and exploiting his enemy tank's weaknesses. like coming around the side of that VK-72, maneuvering him around him, as the VK-72 is a slower tank and can't quite out-traverse a T-62A completely. So he's moving up here, like doing, yeah, pretty good. You definitely don't now. He got lucky there, getting in front of that T-57 heavy on a. You don't want to be clipped out. That can do quite a bit of damage, but he was able to luckily bounce around and kind of wiggle his tank a little bit, which if you are in the open like that, really, really good to do. And you can just imagine the adrenaline that's probably going through, because so much damage done, over 7K. There's just one enemy left, trying to figure out where he is. He does have a teammate to help him in the E100. And so I kind of like what he's doing here. He's just trying to use his view range right now to peek over these hills a little bit, hoping that the Yagaru will make a decision to either advance or try to poke out. Because if the Yagaru does, the T-62A does have that advantage to spot him before he gets spotted. So I'm kind of running out of time here on the clock. Definitely intense. Trying to be very careful. He's now detected. They now know where the Yagaru is. They've got to close in. There's only about a minute left. Will he be able to get there in time? He's got to be able to move up. That E100 is not in a very good position here. And he can utilize this ridge line coming up on it, which is definitely what I would do, is just utilize this hill just slightly, use the accuracy the Yagaru does have, but he decides to go straight for it, which honestly, there's only 30 seconds left on the clock. Went a bit wide there, and can he get back? No, he can. Unfortunately, he can't. Definitely a heartbreak replay, unfortunately. But honestly, good game. Excellent. He did a lot of things that really maximized the efficiency of the T-62A, so great job. Next, we have TJ Blitz in the Covenanter. So here, right off the bat, being the type of tank he is, he wants to get into a position as quick as possible to spot. Try to get eyes on the enemy. So going over here to the far right, which isn't, not too bad. There is a place in the center you can go behind the bush. Want to stay more to the left. You got to be very careful, because if spotted, you can get yourself in a bad position there. But he is utilizing a lot of the landscape to try to protect himself. Not quite so much in a position to effectively spot and help get eyes on the enemy, for not only himself to make decisions on how to maneuver his way around the map in a safe way and to engage the enemy, but also to help his team. Here, if the enemy did pop around, he definitely would want to back up, because he doesn't have any armor, so he can't put himself in a position to utilize or to rely on much armor. Team is pretty much sitting back, so it's good he's not getting himself in a position to be too aggressive, because you don't want to be caught in a situation where you're completely alone. He is detected. I like how he's using the landscape here to protect himself as much as possible. His team is just not really quite moving. I guess this is what you can kind of expect with lower tier battles. So he's able to get some crossfire opportunity here on the enemy. This guy definitely driving out here in the field probably is not the best. I'm surprised he actually made it this far in getting across the field, but was able to take him out. Covenanter, great tank. Love the cannon mechanism. So the enemy here is, they all look like they're kind of sitting back at camp. which is kind of funny. You've got the whole team camping, your own team, and then the enemy team is basically just camping. So he's moved up. He's honestly, hands down, the best player on his team. So he's, way over here. He is trying to wait till he's undetected to peek out, try to get some more eyes on the enemy. And as a light and medium tank, you really have to realize sometimes that it's not all about, in terms of just being an effective player, it's not all about the amount of damage you can do, but it's how effective you are in terms of helping your team get eyes and know where the enemy is. Using that maneuverability, using that view range is a huge key factor of playing a light or medium tank. So this enemy is really just sitting back there, not doing a whole lot. And I love how he's using his third-person view to just see what the enemy is doing before he pops out. Just giving him an understanding of what's going on. And I don't know what this enemy team is doing, but he is really, really able to rake up the damage. So yeah, this enemy team definitely falling apart. You can just see the problem with just sitting back and camping. A lot of new players may think that sitting back and camping, hiding behind bushes, staying back at spawn or whatever may be the safest, but it honestly is just the worst. And this entire enemy team has basically just demonstrated that. I really don't think there was very many of them that even moved up at all. So now this is great because he doesn't quite have any shots, so he's moving up, still using the landscape, trying to see if he can get eyes on the enemy. He can use some of these dead tanks as protection. Looks like his team was able to take out the enemy. Got one guy left here just to go in and finish him off, using his maneuverability to get out of that guy's line of sight. Going around, most likely distracted. The enemy's distracted here. So honestly, I think if you just followed the basics, you could have basically just whooped this team. But great job, great mastery. Honestly, did a lot of things that I thought were good. And hope you guys enjoyed this. Muffin here, stay cool and keep tanking.